Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live or via recording, really appreciate your time. My name is Logan, and I'm joined here by Pimluck of Lim College. She's here to talk to us about fashion business, a trillion-dollar industry. Quite interesting. Lim's based in New York City, the heart of the fashion industry, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot. Please do use the Q&A tool. Drop any questions you might have. We'll tackle them later in the show. And we'll share some contact info for Pimluck, etc. as well in a little bit. So without further ado, Pimluck, thank you so much for your time tonight, and I'll pass the buck to you.
Thank you so much, Logan. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. Where I am from, my name is Pimluck. Some people call me Pim, kind of like Lim. We are LIM College. It stands for Laboratory Institute of Merchandising. And we're going to talk today. You're going to get to know LIM College a little bit, but we're also going to focus on the different types of careers in the fashion industry and why it's a $1 trillion industry. And Logan, just because I have a little bit of technical difficulty on my side, if there are any questions that pop up, feel free to just interrupt me because I'm not going to be able to see the chat box, if that's okay.
Sure thing. And we've got some questions for the end as well when you're ready.
Awesome, thank you. So a little bit about our history. I won't go too much into it. We were the very first in 1939. Our founder Maxwell Marcuse was the person in New York City training department store employees on merchandising. And he became such an expert at it. Everyone kept hiring him to do the workshops and training. He decided to start a school. As the school started out as workshops for merchandising, into trainings for certificates, and it grew into degree programs. And right now it is our current president is Ron Marshall. It is a family owned business, and Ron is a part of the Marcuse family as well. We are located, I know a lot of people say they're, located in New York City. Some are in some are in the north of New York, but we are truly in New York City, in Midtown Manhattan, where everything is. As you can see, we have a truly New York experience where we have our Fifth Avenue building, and it's an 11-minute walk to Maxwell Hall. And we also have our Lexington Avenue building as well. So the students go from these three buildings. And it is right in Midtown Manhattan, where everything is, where Saks Fifth Avenue is, where Grand Central Station is. We are walking distance to Central Park. A little bit about our alumni, just to show you, our alumni might not be the face of the brand, but our alumni are the C-level or in the leadership part of a lot of brands around the world. Just because New York is headquartered for a lot of fashion brands, as you can see, we have alumni who are vice presidents. We have alumni who are directors, are regional VPs. So this is just very few of the alumni network that we have. These are the industry partners that we partner with, either for our alumni network or our students. We do a lot of partnership experiences for our students through these brands. We also have speakers coming in from these brands. Sometimes the brands will bring different projects to our students as well. Okay. So you're gonna have to help me with this, Logan, because I kind of want to see what everyone is putting in to chat. So when it comes to fashion, what comes to mind when you think of the word fashion? I'm going to give you a little bit of time to type this out. Kind of want to know what people think of what fashion is. And if we have any responses, let me know, Logan.
Yeah, we've got one come in. It's two words, fast pace.
Fast pace. Okay. Anything else? Give it a little bit of time for anyone who wants to type their answer.
Another one, creativity seems fitting.
That's a good one too. Anyone else?
Not yet, but feel free to fire them in the chat as we continue.
Okay. So I think a lot of people, when they think of fashion, they think of the glitz and glamour of fashion. They think of the fashion designer. They think of luxury brands like Chanel and Gucci and Louis Vuitton. They think of fashion runways. But there is so much more to fashion than meets the eye. There's also the business aspect. There's the production of it. So for us, fashion is a global ecosystem involving design, it involves production, there is definitely a marketing team, and retail. And it spans in luxury, fast fashion, and streetwear and digital fashion now too. And it's generating over $2.5 trillion globally. So it operates in there's no country that does not have fashion. You know, it operates in every single country. There are very complex supply chains, and it influences culture, media, and identity. And believe it or not, it employs over 300 million people worldwide. Okay. And the top fashion sectors, there's luxury, which, like I've mentioned the brands before that people are familiar with. There's also fast fashion, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, like Zara, H&M. There's sportswear, so we're not just thinking clothes, we're also thinking footwear, accessories. Digital and tech enabled, excuse me. This is interesting because now if you go into as you're buying things on your mobile or you're online, deciding on buying something, you can sometimes see certain brands will have like makeup brands. That's also fashion as well. Makeup brands will have, try this color on you, take a picture of yourself, and we'll match the color to you. Or some brands might have, put your height and weight, and then we'll show you how this outfit might look on you. And they generate AI. So that way you can see what it would look like on you. So digital and tech has become a huge part of the fashion industry as well. Sustainable and ethical fashion, a lot of brands are moving towards this for the environment. Some brands, I think there's a Canadian brand that has that their brand is all about using clean material. The production is clean. Everything about the cycle of it is clean, and they try to have the material last as long as possible. Also, once you are not using those garments or clothing anymore, they have a way for you to send it back to them so it can be recycled and reused. And then there's also lifestyle. Many people think of clothes, shoes, and accessories, but they are not thinking bigger and wider and expanding into furniture, into things that, just Apple is considered a fashion brand just because of the wristbands that you can pick for the Apple Watch. Everything falls into your lifestyle, falls into fashion as well. So we have some powerhouse by countries. We have France, which everybody knows has LV, Chanel, Hermes. We have US that has Nike, Ralph Lauren, PVH, which houses Calvin Klein. Spain has Zara and Mango, and Canada has Lululemon, Aritzia, and Canada Goose. So why study fashion business? Again, it's a multi-trillion-dollar global industry. It hires millions of people. For me, it's fun because it's creative meets commerce and constant innovation all the time. The person who wrote Fast Pace, you are very correct. Fashion is ever evolving and is super fast paced. And the one thing I love about fashion is that it is diverse and multicultural. So I'm going to go over the careers in the business of fashion. It is going to be our degree programs that we offer, but I also want to talk about the potential careers that come out of these programs that we offer. Okay. So we have fashion merchandising, and right here you'll see the sample courses. But I want you to focus on the potential careers, because a lot of people are thinking, okay, I want to study merchandising, but what is it? What can I be? What can I become after I study merchandising? Merchandising is probably the broadest out of all the degree programs, because people coming out of merchandising can go into product development, because merchandising is, you know, the is starting from conception, moving all the way through once whatever you have created hits the market, right? So you can be a merchandise planner. A lot of people from merchandising do go into styling. I had, this incredible friend of mine who travels the world looking at, she's a shopper, a professional shopper. She travels the world looking at different trends for her brand, not her brand, but the brand she works for, and she picks and chooses, what will they buy around the world. So it's an amazing job. And they also have a sustainability specialist now, someone who does a lot of research and find creative ways to make sure the production of what they are making is sustainable and good for the environment. Okay. We have management and leadership. This is for someone I always say fashion business. Our school is not necessarily for there's two types of students that like to come to LAM College. There are the designers that are very entrepreneur. They believe in entrepreneurship. They want to build their own brand. They want to do their own thing. They're already strong in design, but they need to learn the business. And then there are the students who love fashion, but they are not the designers. They are not the strongest artists, but they love the industry so much. And these are the students that go into headquarters, and they go into leadership positions, and they work in the headquarters. So yes, human resources is everywhere. Management is important. You have your DEI liaisons, you have your retail managers, you have your business development managers and business development person who creates partnerships from one brand to another, or co-collaborations. So management and leadership is also a big part of fashion. Marketing, absolutely. As we all know, potential careers in marketing is just so broad. You can be a marketing communications manager. Social media, obviously, is going to be a huge one. A strategist is always needed, because you can know how to do social media, but somebody who can draw up an annual strategy is also important. An analyst is so important. So those of you who have a good balance of the left and right brain, I always say, these types of programs are great for you, because you understand the creativity of things, but you are also being able to look at numbers and analyze it and predict and strategize for your company as well. Fashion media. Excuse me. So we do still have a lot of fashion journalists. I would say this fashion media and marketing kind of coexist together. A student once asked me, what's the difference between marketing and, fashion media? I would say someone going into fashion media is going to be someone who could be like a journalist, right? Or someone who can kind of create the content or manage the content. Like a fashion marketing person might hire a fashion media person to help create and direct content for whatever project they're working on. Fashion media person is someone who can also go into the art field as an art director or creative director somewhere. Okay. Visual studies. I always say students who are more you're not the designers, but you still have that visual art desire, and you still are pretty good at art. This is for you, because somebody who goes into visual studies, sometimes they can be a stylist, they could be an art or creative director. Visual studies now is also expanding and learning into AI as well, because whatever you are designing, it's like I said, people are shopping now and they want to get creative with how they shop. A lot of times 3D or AI is created for the customer to be able to understand what they're buying more. So visual studies has become important as everyone shops, online or on their phone, whether it's e-commerce or m-commerce. And a display designer, there's also a store design planner. As you walk into a mall, how each brand presents themselves, there is actually a designer who designs the space, who makes a plan and strategizes how the colors are going to be presented, how things are going to be laid out in every store. Yeah. We also have business of fashion. Again, I always say business of fashion is for that entrepreneur. If you are a designer already and you want to understand and learn how to build your brand from a business standpoint, I would say business of fashion or merchandising is a great program for you guys. Buying and planning is a huge part of business of fashion. Product development is also, when you develop your product or you develop your design, there's also a sense of knowing your target market. Product development is huge. And obviously, it touches into merchandising as well. Okay. So the programs I just went over are our undergraduate programs. We get a little bit more into our master's program, our graduate programs. We have luxury brand management. This is brand new, but this has been something that it has been requested, and we saw the trend of it as well. Managing a luxury brand is a whole nother, I always say it's like a whole nother country. It's like a whole nother world on how you would manage, a fashion brand like Zara or Mango versus something like Chanel. So, potential careers, obviously, there's a lot of research, product development, but the way they do the research and product development and customer experience management is very different. Fashion merchandising and retail management. By the way, all these programs that I'm saying right now for our master's program are STEM programs, and I'll get into that a little bit more because right now in the US, you can do OPT and CPT, and I will talk about that in just a little bit. So we have merchandising and retail management. Again, it's the same concept of merchandising and retail management, but just more targeted towards the fashion industry. Okay. We also have marketing. It's at the master's level. It's at more strategic level. For our master's students, as they graduate, I would say for our undergraduate students, when they graduate, they're probably going to go into an entry-level job. Our master's students have work experiences already. So when they graduate, they're probably going to go into like a mid-level senior or senior position. This is a program that's extremely important, and it's not just for fashion. Consumer analytics, it's a program that is needed. As you get into the workforce, every single workforce that you go to, they will always have you analyze the numbers, right? So how do you do that? How do you find the trends and the patterns? How do you get insight to what the consumers are buying and not buying? Consumer analytics plays an important part for marketing, for whether it's marketing or merchandising. It plays an important part in every single aspect of a brand. So this has been in high demand. It's one of our newer programs, and we created it because we saw, a rise in a career in consumer analytics. This is a huge one, global fashion supply chain management. I'm sure this one is, yes, you understand merchandising, but being a part of working in supply chain management is also equally important. Whether you're learning the most used software that companies are using, to track their brands. You can become a materials manager. You're looking at logistics. You're analyzing, or you're going to be an inventory specialist. So this is also a huge part of the fashion industry as well. Again, we also have Business of Fashion for the master's program again. Okay. So how can we help you get a job in fashion? So, for LAM College, all of our students have access to our Office of Career and Internship Services. So whether you are doing an undergrad program or a master's program, you are required to do an internship. For our undergraduate programs, you will do your internship probably by either the second half of your first semester or the first half of your second semester already. It is a 4-year degree. And the internships we have a database of all the brands and the headquarters that are hiring. So our students will work with our career and internship services in identifying, where they're going to apply. And the career and internship services will help them, revise their resume, cover letters. They'll do the mock interviews. And then they'll also, with international students, talk about CPT and OPT. So CPT is curriculum practical training. It allows international students to be able to work, to do a paid internship while they are in school. OPT is optional practical training, which allows you to work in the United States after you graduate. And if it's a STEM program, you can work up to 3 years. Okay. And industry opportunities, obviously, we absolutely have our students involved in New York Fashion Week, Bridal Fashion Week, Men's Fashion Week. We have guest speakers all the time. This list is actually very small, but they come from all types of brands to talk to our students. And we also have projects. A lot of people come and they do competitions with our students. So they have the students compete amongst each other. Like Vera Bradley would come and do a competition between the fashion schools or just for LAM students. Or we had a fashion show, a student-run fashion show, and Nicole Miller came to the campus, and for each designer that was presenting their fashion, what she did was she gave them critiques on the brand that they are presenting, and gave them advice on what makes a great runway fashion show as well. Okay, so just for requirements, there is an online application. For you guys specifically, there is no application fee. We review your transcripts, high school or secondary school transcript. English proficiency, it just depends. I think, students coming from Canada, obviously you're not going to need English proficiency. Some students, if you're an international student living in Canada and thinking about, transferring over to the US, we just need to see, how many years were you in Canada, so it just depends. Same thing with graduate, but for our graduate programs, it's a little bit different. Our luxury brand management is a 2-year program. It's an MBA program. All the other programs are MPS or MS programs, only for 1 year. And again, we review the transcripts, and we require personal resume. So if the graduate program requires a little bit more to get in, but both programs, undergraduate and graduate, you will have to do an admissions interview. Okay. So if you would like to stay connected to us, go ahead and take a screenshot of our TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. Okay. And then here is my email and WhatsApp. I do have a WhatsApp for international students interested for more information. So please feel free to add my WhatsApp or just simply email me. All right. Okay.
Thanks very much, Pinluck. Just put your email in the chat for folks as well,
Awesome.
and we'll reiterate that again. So I do have some questions stored up from the registration process, if you are interested. So actually, one of them came in. You mentioned digital fashion.
Hmm.
This student asked about skins in video games and so on. Is that typically considered fashion? Is that a sort of subgenre of digital fashion?
Oh, uh, I would say video games, not really. Merchandising for video games, absolutely.
Interesting distinction. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so steps to apply, you sort of touched
But
on
to
that.
be
Oh, go
honest,
ahead, sir.
with in the video game world, I actually it's funny that you asked that. We actually had, you know, I am aware of certain video games artists and design, people who create the characters. They do consult. So large video game companies do consult with certain brands or they have like sponsorships. Some brands will sponsor certain clothing item on a video game or even an AI. Some countries in Asia, they have like famous AI uh, fashion influencers that
Really?
have their own Instagrams and everything. And sometimes they collaborate and work with brands, and they'll they'll design the outfit the AI influencer is wearing. So that is a
Wow.
thing. That is absolutely a thing.
So it's a real outfit, but a virtual model.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
And that is a thing. There's I forgot her name. It's actually close to Lim. It's I forgot her name and it has a Q in it, but she has millions of followers and she is not real. She is created by a company and they collaborate and partner with fashion brands. So things like yes.
Wow. Seems like the world's a little bit different every time I look. Okay, you actually answered a question that I personally had, which was Lim or Lim? It turns out
Oh, it's
that's
LIM.
Lim.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people call us Lim. It's okay. Because we don't mind it. But it's LIM because it's Laboratory Institute of Merchandising. But
Right.
Laboratory
Okay.
Institute of Merchandising is so long of a name. So Lim or LIM, that's fine.
Right on. Yeah, it doesn't exactly scream fashion to my ear either. Okay, so you mentioned de STEM designation.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means and how it's reflected in like the program offerings itself?
Absolutely. So as you know, we are not, so STEM is for, if you're going, our programs we are a business school. So our program requires a lot of research and math. So, like I said, you have to be that student that has a good balance of both the creative mind and also you have to be able to you're attending a business school basically. So that is why we are STEM certified with a lot of our programs because it requires a lot of analytical research and math and a lot of spreadsheets. But fashion, when you work in the headquarters and you're working in the industries, you can't run away from a spreadsheet no matter how creative you are. I think Logan can attest to that. No matter what industry you run to, you will always have a spreadsheet.
Truly, that's one of the things I've learned in my career is that if you peel back the first layer underneath, you will find nothing but spreadsheets. It's just
Yes, Excel
spreadsheets all the way
spreadsheet.
down. Yeah. Okay, so somewhat related, kind of sort of. How about working as an international student? So here in Canada, we've got a specific regime for international students, of course. I'm wondering what it's like for Canadians who might be going to the States, working part or full time during studies. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So some schools might not have what we call CPT, what I went over. It's called curriculum practical training. So if you are an international student, whether you are Canadian or from anywhere in the world, for now, um, some schools might not have CPT. They're not certified to have CPT, so they cannot work. They can intern for free, but they cannot intern and get paid.
Hmm.
Only schools that have CPT can you intern and get paid. So when you do CPT, I think you can do a certain amount of hours while you are going to school, and you can accept paid internships, which New York has a lot of paid internships. Maybe in other parts of the US, they might have free internships, but New York is, especially in the fashion industry, especially with the LIM connections, there's a lot of internships that, are paid internships. So it's a benefit for the international students to be able to have a school that has CPT. Now, OPT is when you graduate. So when you graduate, you can actually work in the United States for up to a year. Now, if you are STEM, if it's a STEM program, you can work all the way up to 3 years in the US.
Okay. That's after graduation, you mean?
That's after graduation.
Right. Okay, cool.
And
Yeah.
CPT and OPT kind of go hand in hand. CPT, they're going to tell you a set amount of hours you can work. If you go beyond that, it'll eat into your OPT time. So we always try to tell our students, keep it within the limits. So that way it doesn't eat into your OPT time as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So it sounds to my ear somewhat similar to Canada, but a little bit distinct with the CPT versus OPT.
Yeah.
Can you expand a little too on the internship bit? So you mentioned New York is a good spot to get a paid internship. Is that something that LIM staff help with, or is it more on the students to pound pavement and develop those connections to find a placement for themselves?
Oh, we have the connections for them just because we have a huge database. So in the database, it'll tell you if something is paid or unpaid for the internship. It's just going to be, the database will have a huge list of companies that are hiring interns. And it's basically a CRM that your career counselor will help you navigate. They'll teach you how to use it, and they'll teach you how to submit your resume through it and apply to it. So, and a lot of our partners, because we've been around for such a long time behind the scenes. So a lot of our alumni, of course, they're based in New York City. They're, in leadership positions. They are the ones who are also, their companies are the ones hiring. So of course we have a great a great partnership with them as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and the fashion industry loves perspectives, obviously. They love perspective from international students. The fashion industry is all about diversity. So having perspectives from international students has always been important for the industry as well. I feel like if you're here in the US and you're from another country, it's kind of beneficial for you, for the fashion industry, to be able to provide that different perspective when you're going into an internship, So that's the one thing that is great about this particular industry.
Yeah, that's super cool. And certainly the facts bear it out that diversity of opinion, certainly in creative industries, especially, always valuable.
I know with everything going on in the US right now and the news and everything like that, but New York is still New York. This is what I tell everyone. New York is like its own country.
No doubt,
Everything
eh?
going on, New York is still running like New York. New Yorkers are just a different breed. I always, I grew up in Florida. I grew up in the south of the United States, and then moving to New York and working for LAM, and it's like you said, fast pace. You always say the cities that you would go for fashion is going to be what? Milan, New York City, I think Shanghai now even.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah,
Paris, I guess.
but New York is the New York energy is about networking. So if you're in Milan, it's about design. It's about the creativity. That's why design students, Europe, I think, would be a great place for them. But New York is about that networking, fast pace, like meeting people and getting connected and making things happen. That's a very New York energy. So when Michael, I believe I see the chats now. When you say fast pace and creativity, you are absolutely right. It's both.
Very cool. Okay, so you actually anticipated another question here, which is about the community vibe around LIM, the campus itself, assuming folks are studying in person, not online. What's the vibe like?
It's like I said, New York is New York. Here's my, with LAM, we are located in the middle of New York City. So it's funny because a lot of people say, do you feel safe? I to me, walking around New York City, I feel safer than walking around like Florida. You know, if it's 8 p.m., I'm walking around Florida, it's kind of dark, no one's around. I don't want to walk around here. I will need a car. You know, New York City, we have subways, the train goes everywhere. You don't need a car. We have public transport system. 8 p.m., there's still so many people walking around. 11 p.m., tons of people still walking around. I always feel a little bit safer walking in the city um, than I do in maybe a smaller town or a smaller city. The vibe in New York City is definitely fast paced. The energy hits you like there's no. The first time I ever went to New York City, there's a sense of energy. You'll just feel it. It just hits you. It's not a gradual thing. It's people will either love it or hate it. If you love that fast paced environment, if you are a proactive go-getter, New York is for you. If you love to network and you want to build your career up, and you know, I say New York is for you. If you want a slower pace environment, or if you want something more quiet, if you want something more quaint, do not come to New York City. Don't live, come visit, but don't live in New York City. It's not going to be for you. But the great thing about New York City is that it's diverse, it's multicultural, it's international. You know, a lot of companies in New York City are international companies, and they're used to international students. They're used to working and hiring international students versus if a student goes to um, let's say if a student is going to go to Oklahoma or you know somewhere else in the United States, it might you there might not be as many companies that hire international students like they do here in New York.
So the implication being there are fewer fashion businesses in Oklahoma,
Uh,
I think is pretty fair. Yeah.
Well, I always say if it's fashion, just you know, it's either New York, Paris, Milan, you know, and it just depends. The strengths of each city is very different. Yeah.
Right. And so you mentioned New York being a sort of networking hub. We've also got a question sort of related to that about connecting with current students or maybe recent grads to kind of get the boots on the ground perspective. Is there a way to do that?
Absolutely. Just email me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, just email me and I'll connect you to either a current student or a grad student or a student that graduated. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. That's very easy for us to do.
Okay, cool. Just a couple others here, kind of mixed questions. One about being anything students should know about studying online versus in person is obviously the experience be a bit different, but what are the biggest distinctions and differences to your mind?
Um, I would say just, you know, the experience of being in New York is is just an experience on itself. I online you will learn what you need to learn when it comes to the fashion industry. Absolutely. Like if you're thinking about doing an online option, we are more than happy to help you with that. But I would say being in New York City is just an experience all by itself. If you've never been to New York before, if you have, even if you have been to New York, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So New York City, I just think it's a unique city. Not only is it networking, there's always something going on. There's always an event to go to. There's always something to attend. And, you know, being a part of that is how you meet people and you network and you grow. Sometimes in New York, like I was just in a park and I met someone in the fashion industry. And now we have a connection to another school that is in Europe, you know, just because I was in a park walking and talking, you know, just randomly attending a festival and just talking to the person next to me, you know, that's New York, right? So the opportunity to have that kind of New York vibe and culture, be a part of that New York vibe and culture and attend all the events and things like that. That's going to be what different makes it different from online. Now the content, everything you learn about the fashion industry, it's still going to be the same, you know. And even online, you're still going to have access to our alumni network as well. So either is fine, but if you really want that experience, the immersive experience, I would just say, yeah, you know, I wouldn't say this with every city or state in the United States. But New York is just New York. It's different, No matter what administration is in power right now, New York will always be New York.
Yeah, that's the sense that I get from having visited a little bit and certainly seen the media. Okay, so just a couple more here. This one's kind of a softball, I would say, but skills learned in a fashion-focused program like LIM, can those skills be applied to non-fashion industries? Like, are you locked into working in fashion? Is kind of the question, I guess.
Absolutely not, because we're not a design school, because we are a business school, your skills can, we actually have an alumni who works for HSBC right now, and that's a bank, just because the concepts of business is still the same. So you're not locked into just the fashion industry. Just like I said, like degree programs like marketing, absolutely, it transcends to all industries. But the only difference is that we touch on the fashion, we kind of target the fashion industry a little bit, but the fundamental concepts of marketing is still the same. Consumer analytics, if you're thinking about doing a graduate program, it's a 1-year program. Now that transcends all industries right now. You can never have I would say the past few years, you saw an increase in companies hiring analysts, right?
Mm.
So that just transcends. If you're able to look at numbers, analyze it, see a pattern, and help a company strategize, it doesn't matter that it came from LIM College. It just matters that you have that skill to do it for any industry. So
Yeah, totally get that. One of the big sort of watchwords alongside AI over the last few years, to my mind,
yeah.
has been data science, right? Data
Mhm.
analytics stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's more or less the big questions that I've got lined up. So, is there anything, sort of parting words of wisdom, anything students should take away with them before we let you go?
I just want to say that for the fashion industry, for those of you who are truly, you have a passion for this industry, and just know that, whatever you're passionate about, sorry, whether it's fashion or not, absolutely go for it. Especially, and the fashion industry is driven by people who are passionate about, you know, um, this industry. I just want to say that you don't have to be the designer. You don't have to work in luxury brands. There is so many career choices in this field for anyone of any different types of personality. So, look into it more, dive into it more. If you have any questions at all, reach out to me. You guys have my email, and I am here for you. And get to know us a little bit more if you want.
Well, thanks so much, Ben. Look, really do appreciate your time and expertise this evening.
Yeah.
As mentioned, we'll share the recording around, of course, and otherwise, have a great evening. Enjoy this sunny afternoon in New York City.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Logan.
Take
Bye,
care.
Michael. Bye, Chris.